Hello to everybody and welcome to a new training session of the Moldovas Lab, developed in the framework of the European Project Bond. These training sessions have been promoted by ProEntrance with the support of FAO and Córdoba University and have been organized in 3 different events. In the context of the third one, we are developing and sharing with you this video containing the following session: the importance to generate synergies in our social context and tools to design bridging strategies. Let me share with you the agenda of the session. First, we will be presenting the concept of bridging strategies and the importance of considering these strategies within our groups in order to facilitate the achievement of our goals and aims. Second, we will be presenting a very useful and interesting tool to design efficient and smart bridging strategies in our groups, which is called the social map. So let me start with the concept of bridging strategies and its importance, and let me start explaining first the concept of bonding strategies. We will take the common vision of our group as the starting point. Without a common vision, that is, if we have not clearly defined what our group is concerned for, it will not be possible at all to design any strategy as a group. So the first main issue for a group is to work on its bonding strategy. What does it mean? This is the strategy that will allow us to strengthen what has motivated us to become a group, and so to reinforce our collective aims and identity. Every group needs to work on this issue. Between many important elements of the bonding strategies in our group, we can find first, the common values and principles and the shared vision of the group. It's strongly recommended that they are collectively defined or at least clearly known by all participants. It will help a lot if this is built in an explicit way. Please consider that implicit assumptions in a group are not desirable at all, as they can easily generate misunderstandings and so conflicts. So never forget about collectively define your group values, principles, and shared vision. Another important element of the bonding strategy in a group is to define the organizational performance of the group. That is, the way we are going to function as a group, how we will take decisions, how the information will flow, and so on. It's about taking into account, when designing our group, the dimensions visited during the first session of this training event. Remember, we were talking about the 3 pillars of a group: the objectives, the processes, and the people, or the 4 dimensions of the group: the decision making, the emotional management, the creative inquiry, and the cohesion. All these pillars and dimensions or moments in our group are basic. If we forget to introduce in our design one of them, our table, let's say, our organization, our group will fall down sooner or later, or it will not be satisfactory for all the members. So the bonding strategy must also include what we were discussing in the last training session about the emotional dimension and the conflicts. The bonding strategy allows us to build solid and strong groups from inside. The other basic strategy in a group is the bridging focus, that is the networking. Okay, so how we will develop healthy relations, cooperations, agreements with other organizations in order to reinforce our aims and goals as a group. These strategies are a key issue, right? Because as you know, the union makes the force, right? So what do we mean when talking about designing bridging strategies? We mean, first, to identify supporters organizations. That is, organizations that share our common vision, our main goals, and our main aims. With this type of organizations, the objective is to promote our networking with them. That is, to build strategies of partnership. Second, to identify what we call the difference. That is, those organizations that share some of our goals and aims, but that they have a different common vision about the issues we want to deal with. These are organizations that can be our allies if we work on concrete actions and concrete strategies. With these actors, it's important to look at those points that unite us, that we have in common, and that can facilitate to wake up possible alliances. Please do not regard the differences with these actors as oppositions or obstacles impossible to get over, because we would be losing potential very important alliances for our group. We will go through concrete examples when having presented all the types of organizations that we can find around us in our social context. Third, to identify those actors that are out of the discussion. That is, they do not have expressed yet any position related to our vision, but they could have something to say or an interest somehow on it. These are actors that could be potential allies and in some cases potential partners in our networks. The idea with these actors is to convince them about supporting our goals, to seduce them, let's say, and we will be coming back to them afterwards. Fourth, there are the real opponents, and these are those actors that are clearly against our aims and goals as a group. Their common vision is exactly the opposite to ours. The idea when designing our bridging strategies is to isolate them. There is nothing we can do related to these actors apart from generating such networks and alliances with other actors that they will become isolated in the social arena. So, bridging strategies consist in establishing or reinforcing our networks with those actors identified as supporters, to find concrete points of alliance with those identified as differents, to seduce and bring closer to us those actors identified as out of discussion but potentially interested in our aims or goals, and finally to isolate through these bridging strategies those actors considered as opponents. So how can we collectively design these strategies? Let me introduce you now the second part of the agenda, and this is a very useful tool to do so, called the social map. To design your own social map, you need to be willing to design, in a consensed and collective way, in your group, your bridging strategy. So it's suggested to organize a meeting or a workshop in your group where you will collectively develop the following technique. The first step of this technique is to remember collectively the main aim of your group. That is the general objective, the common vision of your group. This main aim or main objective will be the reference point in the rest of the technique, so it must be really clear for all participants. Let's imagine that this main aim is to promote and defend agroecological family farming sector in our country. We will be developing the technique using this example, okay? So then we will design a double axe diagram as shown in the slide, and our group main aim will be located right in the corner. Again, this is the reference point for all the rest of the technique. The second step of the exercise or dynamic is to identify different possible positions of other organizations in relation to our main aim. So in the horizontal line, we will locate the 4 possible positions already explained. First, as the closest position to our main aim, we will locate the column of the supporters. Remember, these are the organizations that share our common vision. In our example, they would be those organizations that also aim to support and defend agroecological family farming sector, right? Second, we will locate the column of the difference. Remember, these are the organizations that share some of our goals and aims, but that their common vision is different to ours. In our example, this would be, for instance, the column to locate those organizations in our social and political context that support and defend family farming in general, but are not centered in the agroecological proposal, right? Third, we would locate the column of the out of discussion organization. Remember, these are those organizations that might have something to say about our common vision, but have not a position on it yet, or at least they have not expressed it yet. In our example, this would be, for instance, urban ecologist organizations or responsible consumption organizations that have not established any links with our ecological family farming organizations, but that could be interested in case of getting contacted, as we could find some points of interest in common. Fourth, we would locate the column of the opponents. Remember, these are those organizations that are clearly against our common vision. Following our example, this would be those organizations clearly against our ecological family farming needs and proposals. In our example, we could identify, for instance, big multinational retailers or seeds agrochemicals companies, for instance. In order to facilitate this technique, to make the design clearer, we will differentiate three types of organizations when identifying them, whatever the column is, right? First, we will differentiate if they are institutions, using a triangle to represent them. For instance, governments at different scales or levels, public or private administrations, such as universities or research groups, etc. Second, we will differentiate those that are formal organizations using a square. For instance, NGOs, farmers' unions, all groups identified that are formally set up. Finally, we will differentiate those that are non-formal organizations using a circle. For instance, neighborhood initiatives or seeds exchange networks. We will use a circle when identifying groups that are not formally set up, but that bind people together with a common goal, right? So in this second step of the technique, we will make a list of organizations that we can identify in our social and political context that correspond to the different positions related to our common vision or goal: supporters, difference, out of discussion, and opponents. And we will identify them using the symbols suggested: triangle for institutions, squares for formal organizations, and circles for informal organizations. We will make a list as it is shown in this slide, different type of actors in the different columns. In the example, we would have institutions located in the supporters column, a peasants research group, for instance, the Ministry of Rural Development in the difference column, and the Ministry of Agriculture in the opponents column, because the strategies and the discourses of these institutions show they are located in these positions related to our aim. Remember, defense of the agroecological family farming sector. The same for the formal organizations. In our example, we could find a food sovereignty NGO as a supporter, a family farmers union as different, when they do defend all type of family farming, but not only agroecological ones, or a seeds multinational company as opponent. For non-formal organizations, we would do exactly the same. Identify which ones we could find in each column. In our example, we could find a regional seeds exchange network in the supporters column, a farmers mutual support initiative in the difference column, and an industrial farmers union in the opponents column. As many organizations you are able to identify, more effective and detailed bridging strategies you will be able to design. So please take your time identifying all the organizations that could be located in your social map. The step 3 of the technique invites us to locate the organizations identified by their level of power related to the decisions that are required to achieve our common vision. The question to answer for each of the organizations identified is: how much power does this organization have related to our issue? So the ones with more power will be located at the top of their column. The ones with medium level of power will be located in the middle of the column, and the ones with low level of power will be located at the bottom of their column, right? At this point of the technique, I would like to clarify two very important orientations when locating the organizations in your social map. First, there is not a true or a wrong position of an organization in the design. We must locate each organization where we as a group think it's located, right? But do not get blocked on that. The important point is the debate and reflection about these elements that this exercise generates in the group, and to find the final position that more or less satisfy everybody in the group, right? Second, please do not forget to locate your own organization in the map. This is very important to continue with the exercise. For sure, we will be located in the supporters column. And the point is to agree on your level of power related to your issue, right? So let's continue to step 4. This step is about to identify the relations that there are between the different actors identified, different organizations identified. At this step, we go actor, organization by organization, including our own organization, identifying with which other actors there is a relation and how this relation is. If there is no relation between two actors, then we do not write anything on the map. It's when we identify a relation that we have 3 possibilities. The 3 possibilities when two actors have any relation between them are: first, they have a good relation, and the symbol is this double-ended arrow. Second, they have a conflictual relation. The symbol is a double-ended arrow with a cross on it. You can also paint this arrow in another color, such as red. So just decide first how you are going to represent this conflictual relation, with a cross or with another color. Third, we have a relation, but it is weak. The symbol here will be a double-ended arrow with a discontinuous line. Following our example, the identification of the relations could give us something like this. After these steps, the map will be finished. And now it's the time to read the map and try to identify the strategies that we can design after the information it gives to us. So, what type of strategies we can design from this map? First, how to strengthen the supporters column. So, let's see if there are relations between all the actors located here and if these relations are strong. Our strategy should go to facilitate that we have a relation with all the actors located here and that these relations become strong. The map helps us to identify which relations we must establish, which ones we must reinforce, and how to do that. For instance, we could reach an actor that we don't have a relation with yet through a bridge organization. Okay? In our example, If we are the regional seeds network, we don't have any relation with the peasants research group, and it can be a very important partnership. So we could establish a collaborative relation with this peasants research group via the Food Sovereignty NGO. Then we should be designing what to do to establish this relation. And for instance, we think that we could invite to our next seeds exchange activity to this NGO and ask the NGO to invite the research group to this activity. We could organize during the activity a meeting with these two actors in order to present our ideas or our aims and try to build a common strategy with them, right? Second, how to build concrete alliances with the differents, right? So we could design possible alliances with the organizations that we already have a relation. We could try to reinforce a weak relation here with a concrete proposal on something that we know we share. Also, we could reach an interesting organization through other bridging organizations. For instance, via the Peasants Research Group, we could try to design a shared strategy with the Family Farmers Union. And also, we could see the alliance we could build with them, with the Family Farmers Union, in order to reach the Ministry of Rural Development. We could think about a concrete demand towards the Ministry of Rural Development that we know we share with this union and try to build a concrete alliance on it. Third, how we could seduce the out of the discussion organizations identified. Imagine we decide to get closer to the workers' union. As we identify it has more power than us, and we think it can be interesting to have their support somehow. We could not use our alliance with the Family Farmers Union as they have a conflictual relation between them. So we should avoid this path because it would never work. We can decide another path that would go via the Peasants Research Group and its relation with the ecologist organization that is in the out of the discussion column, right? Once this link is established, we could reach the workers' union thanks to the help of this ecologist organization. For every step to reach the Peasants Research Group, to reach the Farmers Union, to reach the ecologist organization, for every single step of this strategy, we must have to think what we are going to propose, right? For instance, to reach the ecologist organization, we could suggest to the Peasants Research Group to organize a public journey on biodiversity, family farming, and agroecology, and to invite this ecologist organization to this journey, to this activity. One of the final objectives of these strategies is to gain so much support and alliances that we arrive to isolate the opponents in the social arena and in the political discussion. This is the case of succeeded social processes that made governments change political regulations. For instance, in France, the support of the government to family farming sector and the agroecological approach was a somehow success after many years of bridging and advocacy between the supporters' organizations. Also, in many cases, these social processes have generated a shift in public discourses of powerful actors, such as multinational companies, for instance. Think about the greener image that most of them are trying to transmit via new logos, advertisements, and so on. It's been a consequence of this sort of strategies from the organizations that really supported this approach. It is strongly recommended to develop this tool periodically, every year or every 6 months, depending on the time frame that we have established for our bridging strategy. The development of this strategy will generate movements in the social map, so repeating its designing every year or every 6 months will allow us to identify new positions, new actors, new relations that will influence the designing of new strategies and the modification of others. It will allow us to evaluate the degree of success of the different actions implemented and so learn during the process. Also, I would like to affirm that the potentiality of this tool is bigger while we are developing it and getting used to it. So these are the contents and the tool related to designing bridging strategies that we wanted to share with you. I really hope you found it interesting and useful and you will be using it in your groups. As in other occasions, this video will not finish here, as we wanted to suggest a practical exercise to be prepared before our next session. The exercise we suggest to bring down is the following. First, we invite you to identify one bridging strategy or activity that you have developed in the last year and another one strategy or activity developed since the COVID-19 crisis started in the framework of your organization. Please, we invite you to characterize each one of these strategies or bridging strategies or activities by detailing the bridging strategy or activity itself, what for it was developed, who with it was developed, and how you have developed each one of them. We will be using your experiences to analyze the type of strategy and their efficiency. Second, we invite you to identify at least 2 organizations that you would locate in each of the quadrants of the social map of your organization. Before thinking about the organizations and their location, please be sure you have clearly identified the aim or the main goal of your organization in order to facilitate the location of the others. So you are invited to identify organizations that you would locate as supporters, differents, out of discussion, and opponents related to the concrete aim of your organization. You are also invited to locate these organizations depending on their level of power in relation to the decisions that are affecting somehow your aim. We also invite you to locate your own organization in this map, right? So please bring this analysis to the following online practical session to be held the 6th June, and we will be working with your contributions in the different exercises to be developed. Thanks really a lot for your attention. We really hope you have enjoyed it and you have found it useful. And please take care of yourselves and your people, and really all the best. Thanks and see you.